Hello, everyone, and welcome to Spherical Luminosity's YouTube Live. And today's session is, I think, a cracking good one. It's the new consciousness. Is it BS? I refrained from swearing, but barely. Anyway, so if you could comment in the chat your first name and where you're from so I can see you, that'd be amazing. We have Annie, who's here from Bay Area, and Gail joining us from Scottsdale. Hello, Gail. And Susie in from Salt Lake City. I almost forgot. All right, and Marlene's here, and the Lawrences and are here from Colorado, as they often are. And then Liz Malcolm, our stalwart supporter from New Zealand, and Teresa Dresp from Minneapolis. Hello, hello. And we have Avery from Charlotte, North Carolina, and Elena, and Joan from Minnesota. Hi, guys. All right, and Sandy, we see you from San Diego. Thank you guys all for joining us and saying hello. There's somebody who's checking in from Peru, Karina. Wow, that is very dedicated. All right, so my name is Karen Chong. Many of you know me already and some of you don't. So for those of you who are new, I help to catalyze awakening and a rise in human consciousness by releasing people's blocks at what I refer to as frequency level, amplifying your awareness of the divine within so you can recognize and live the abundance and limitlessness of your true nature as infinite, indestructible consciousness. This is your birthright, and the time for humanity to awaken to this possibility is now. For those of you who are brand new to frequency work and don't know much about it, I'd recommend watching episode 176, Frequency Work Fundamentals Reboot, of my podcast, Mastering Your World Through Frequencies, on this channel. And again, that's episode 176. So today, I know Fiona, who you all know as my co-host, has been preparing some hard questions for me about the new consciousness and whether at all it's a real thing or not. So I'm bracing myself. I'm ready. All right, here she is. We're bringing her on. Hello. Oh, cool. All right, Miss Fiona, I'm ready.
All
Ready
right.
for you.
Okay. I promise I'll not take too long.
Okay.
Yeah. So this new consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm in my 50s and
Mhm.
I've been hearing about this new consciousness banging on for several decades now.
Yeah.
And I'm getting to the point now where like, am I going to be alive when this flipping new consciousness finally gets here? And
Yeah.
and there are points where I go, this is just complete
Bullshit.
You know,
Mhm.
this is just made up. This is some psychops. It's, you know, it's the government keeping us distracted. I've gone there. And then,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I guess the question is,
Uh-huh.
I mean, what is the new consciousness? How do you even know it's new, you know?
Mhm.
And what evidence have you got that it's a new consciousness?
Yeah.
You know? Is it really? Has anything changed?
Changed?
You know?
Yeah, because it really can feel like nothing has changed. And in fact, it's getting worse and it's becoming more of a what we'll call a proverbial shit show. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of crap language that
Yeah.
we'll frame this in. Yeah. Okay.
I like the way the Spanish say it.
Yeah.
Total desmadre.
Yeah, total
Mhm.
chaos.
Mhm.
It's exactly. Okay, so the new consciousness has been talked about for many millennia, actually. So, you know, traditions have been talking about this time for a long time. And it's a time of transition from one resonance level to another. And so your question is, how do we know this bloody thing is actually happening? And what does it really mean? And blah, 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 right? Because there's like all this stuff wrapped around it. You know, there's a lot in different communities about being like a new earth and a new dawn and a new age and a new, lots of white billowy clothing and, you know, that type of thing.
Lots of promises.
Lots of promises, yeah. And you know, you could easily dismiss it, especially if you were just thinking about it from the little s self perspective, as just like wishful thinking, really, you know, in response to what's happening in the world. So, I mean, that's a valid criticism. However, at the same time, as consciousness has risen, those of us, and it's been exponentially rising. So, I mean, I know it doesn't seem like it, you know, because you know, when we're in it, it feels kind of just like it seems like it's getting worse. But as consciousness is rising, there are those of us who are rising in consciousness who are able to discern things that we couldn't before. And I'm not just talking about myself. I'm talking anybody who's rising in their frequency resonance, whether they're doing frequency work or using some other modality, whatever it is, to rise in their frequency resonance. We're becoming aware of different levels of resonance, meaning one that has existed before that's heavier, which is more fraught with oppression and greed and control and fear and scarcity, and the very limited, and that we're not very empowered to change things. We're kind of at the mercy of life. And that's very in what we'll call the older consciousness, the one that a lot of people refer to or reference, in their reality these days. And then, when we call it the new consciousness, to answer your question, it's always been there. It's not like it's never not existed. You know what I mean? It's always been there. It's just about whether or not you can access it, because your own frequency resonance is high enough to access it.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because it still feels like the old consciousness has not gone away.
Yeah, it's still there. Yes,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that's why I think, is there even a new consciousness?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it can feel like we haven't left the old behind.
Yeah.
But the thing is, all those levels of consciousness continue to exist because they're all part of the all that is. And whether or not you access a higher resonating one depends on your own frequency resonance. So I think your other question, I don't know tell me if I'm answering all your questions. You asked 3 big ones right at the very beginning. All right. So to me, like the quote unquote new consciousness really, like I said, has to do with the level of vibration. And depending on who you are, you get to experience more of it or less of it for longer or shorter periods of time, depending on who you are and what your vibrational level is. It honestly doesn't have to do with deserving, how many, prayers you say, how many mantras you do, what you, burn or don't burn in terms of incense. No, it doesn't matter. It really just has to do with vibrational level and whether or not you're vibrating high enough to be in a resonance where you can recognize that consciousness is there and be aware of it.
Oh,
okay.
Right. Yeah, because when I hear that, right, because I'm the healthy skeptic, I call myself, right? And so I hear that and I kind of think there might be folk listening out there, so maybe hearing this and hearing, so there's chosen ones.
Oh yeah.
Their vibrations high enough, they can access the new consciousness, right?
Yeah.
And I know that's not what you mean.
No,
right? But at the same time, if I'm watching this for the first time and you're talking about vibration, yes, we know science has proven that everything is vibration. There's a resonance to everything. And you're saying that the new consciousness is at a higher resonance. And I'm going to challenge you and say, well, how do you know that?
Yeah, because as my own frequency resonance has risen, I'm aware of more and more things.
Right.
So I'm aware of different layers of resonance. And because my own resonance rises, my own awareness refines. It's just kind of like, I don't know, if you learn more information, it's like the more deeply you get into it, the more you have details, just because it's like, I don't know, any skill, like cooking, right? Like when you first start, you don't know what I was going to say another curse word, your butt from your elbow, right? You don't know what you're doing, you're burning stuff, you don't know what you're doing. But if you persist and you continue to cook and you continue to learn, then your level of skill refines, and then your knowledge base refines, and sort of what you know intuitively also increases because you've been testing and experimenting along the way, tasting things, right?
And your manifestation, your creation becomes nicer, finer, more refined.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
I see where you're going.
So it's the same with any kind of modality, whether it's cooking or woodworking or spiritual awakening, it's the same. So as your frequency resonance rises, what you come into in terms of your awareness becomes more refined and also deeper and more expansive in the sense that you just are aware of certain things. Because at the level that I'm talking about, when you move up in your resonance, it's not like you think with your mind. It's not a processing, like a mental processing of like, okay, I need to understand and memorize this piece of information, which then causes that piece of information to happen. It's not like that for me anyway. And I feel like a lot of other people have this experience where you just know. And you don't know how the hell you just know viscerally. And you don't know how you actually forgot that you knew, but somehow you did, and now you know again. So it's kind of like that. And so I know that that resonance of the consciousness is there because not only have I experienced it, but it's funny, the feedback that we get from people in the Limitless Potential Mastermind or from the retreats or from Living Your Brilliance or whatever, they're like, it's so strange that I'm having this experience and I don't know what it is. And I'm like, oh, it's because you've bumped up so much in your consciousness that you have this new awareness, this new experience that you didn't have before. So it's starting to happen for more people, not just me.
Okay, so if I'm like, how do you experience the new consciousness then? I mean, I know you're going to tell me it's about frequency work and doing the work and clearing the distortions, right? But they've been talking so much about this new consciousness, and it seems to have ramped up so much in the last couple of years, right? That I'm keeping waiting on this crescendo. Like, hey, we've got the wave now, and here we come. We're coming in. And then you hear like from the indigenous peoples and from the other peoples that, like, you know, the drumvellos of the world, the kundalini or the earth moved, and then we have all these alignments that have never happened in 20. And so it's like this building or this new consciousness that's just about there.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. And I think the reason you ask, is because many of us who are moving into it more and more are in a really crunchy time right now. It's not particularly delightful. A lot of people are having a hard time. They're facing things, their very deepest patterns of scarcity and fear. And it's funny, when you're in it, you forget how you're blessed, how things have changed, how your perspective has changed, how your experience has gotten better, more abundant, more open. You know what I mean? We can forget, we can just focus on the negative stuff. And we think, oh, this is still how we're lacking. And I'm not saying that people aren't having a hard time, but it's really fascinating because even you shared a story with me lately of a friend of yours who had really gotten to a place financially where she was really struggling, you know, last however many, let's say, dollars in the bank account. And she was kind of at her wit's end and kind of forgot about her tools for a minute there. You reminded her of some of the deep dives, including the neutrality and the surrender from strength ones. And she kept playing them. And then within, like, I think a couple of days, of playing them consistently, what happened was she received a job offer. She got offered a new house that was bigger for a lot less money that they're moving into. So it's kind of amazing. And that's like within, like, literally 48 hours or something, right?
Oh,
you said, like within that week or something, all that happened. So my point is that, like, all of this shift can happen very, very quickly, even though you're in the muck of it. You know, like when she was down to her last whatever number of dollars it was, it wasn't like she was like, this is amazing, I love moving into the new consciousness. You know what I mean? She's not having, I mean, maybe she was, but I don't think so. I think she's freaking out, right? Like most of us would be, right? And we've all had these moments where it's been kind of tough, where we've a lot of the things that we feared, a lot of the things that we were unsure of, a lot of the things that we were wobbly on or whatever, we were like facing them. You know, and it's not a particularly delightful time, but really, in order to move, and I know I keep saying this, and I think some people are going to probably want to smack me, but in order to be in that higher level of consciousness, first of all, you have to know that you're strong enough to transcend that darkness, that heaviness that does not need to exist for you. And also to come into that space where you're like, that no longer exists for me. It just doesn't. And you claim that for yourself, but you have to actually claim it for yourself. And it's not particularly easy. It often feels not good when you're doing it. But yet, if you can hang in there, and, you know, I've had all these stories of all these different people, like, going through, like, just the fire of, like, if you could see all these stories of, like, so much stress because things are failing, jobs are almost being lost, money disappearing, like, you know, just people going a little bit, you know, AWOL, like whatever the hell it is that's happening in your life, it's happening. And people are really, what's fascinating to me is transcending it.
Right. So this brings me to my next part of my question, because I mean, as much as I'm a skeptic, I've had my experiences, and I know that there is something much nicer and clearer. Let's just put it that way. But what fascinates me is, like you've just said, we're all going through this rough patch at the same time.
Isn't that fascinating?
Right? Yeah. It's just a coincidence.
We're all doing it at the same time.
So which makes me, again, come back to, is this a thing, this new consciousness?
Oh, for sure.
And is this the kind of evidence that kind of backs it up?
Yeah, totally. And I think not only that, but like I said, when you're focused on like what generally people want us to focus on, all the negative things that are happening in the media. It's very easy to not pay attention to the other miracles that are happening that are evidence of the new consciousness.
Mhm.
So we were just talking about this, you, myself, and Chris before, but like the number of companies now that are doing amazing thing with new technology it's unbelievable. Like it's coming at a time like all of a sudden it's starting to happen. So like if you think about somebody like Tesla, right?
Mhm.
Who at the beginning of the 20th century had all of this amazing, like groundbreaking work, free energy, like wireless, like all this stuff that he was like channeling in from wherever the hell he was channeling it in, and then he's basically killed, right? All of his notes burned, his lab destroyed, like disappears. Because that's the level of the consciousness at the time. Like that wasn't allowed to exist. But now it's kind of amazing. Like I'm hearing about these kids. I mean, these kids, they're like between 14 and 20, like doing like insane stuff, like removing microplastics from the water and like winning science fairs for, like having tests for lead in water that's being consumed in India so that people don't get poisoned from it. And like, I just read about recently this like incredible thing. Is it Finland that's happening in the sand battery? Somewhere up north, somewhere far up north, where they have this huge thing of the sand battery where it's this massive sand battery where they take all the excess from like solar and different like alternative forms of energy, like wind energy and stuff like that. And because they haven't known what to do with that excess, it just sort of goes away. But now they have this huge sand battery that's like storing this massive amount of energy and now fueling like enormous sections of the town and like a heated pool and all. Like this is clean energy. This is mind-boggling. This is like was not possible like even 20 years ago. And what's happening in the body and technologies for that, like this is evidence of what's happening in the new consciousness. This kind of technology which is driven by the desire to help others because we are connected to each other. And if I help you, you can do whatever you're doing to have a better life, which will help others. It's an indication of that oneness that I keep talking about. And it's amazing to me to see the kids doing it. And the thing is, what's amazing is they're like winning prizes and companies are like, hey kid, this is a cool little invention thingy that you got going on here. How do we like invest in it so you can grow it? Like that would not have happened. You know what I mean?
For me, I think that's really necessary to see that. For me, when I get into that place, or is this just complete bullshit? You know? And then I start to open up my perspective a bit and I look and I pay attention. I'm like, okay, right. We have such amazing new technologies that have come into light. And fascinating enough, there are like professors, high-level professors at university that are finding new ways. Funnily enough, we have a client that's working with one professor in Stanford University, I believe, where he is using frequency work to break the structure of viruses in the body. I mean, hello.
I know.
You know?
I know. Well, and you and I have just discovered recently, there's this machine that we've discovered called the Rife machine that uses like certain pulses of electricity to like go through the body to clear parasites and viruses and all this kind of amazing stuff. And it's working. I know it's working because it's happening in my body. It's kind of mind-boggling. I'm not going to go into the details because it has to do with digestion. And I know that not everyone wants to hear about my poo. All right. So anyway, so my point is, it's kind of like, an issue that I've had for like a year and a half because of parasites literally has gone away. And there's very distinct evidence that it's gone away.
It's gone away. Exactly.
So what I'll say is like, what? You know what I mean? With this kind of technology. And now it's like people are looking for this kind of technology.
Yeah.
You know what
People
I mean?
are starting to, again, there seems to be a collective of people that have went, this way isn't working. All right, I need to try a different way now. And starting to realize that perhaps it's not just, what do they call them? Conspiracy theory talks. That there is actually some sort of meaning behind that kind of conversation. Okay, so, I mean, I could go and I would love to get to the place of well, what do you think the new consciousness will look like?
Yeah.
But I mean, nobody can really answer that question.
No. And what I will say, though, is kind of interesting to me. So I feel what's happening is that people who are resonating higher are kind of finding each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, there is kind of like weird stuff out there. So like I'm aware of that. Okay. So I'm not suggesting it's all like bliss and rainbows or anything. But it's true though. Like it's for a long time, I think that people who were on a specific kind of spiritual journey and they were really kind of looking for a truth. They didn't know what the truth was, but they were looking for a deeper connection with the oneness, the divine, whatever you want to call it, and didn't really want to go into a religion, and they were trying to find their path. And they didn't want to be in a cult, obviously, right? So they're trying to find like-minded people, but we're aware that there's kind of like weird stuff out there. But it's fascinating to me because I feel like people are starting to link up more. So they're finding each other faster and people are clearer, you know?
Yes.
And I think that's really wonderful. I think that, like I'm not pretending that there's no predatoriness out there, but because there is.
Yeah,
but what's
so,
happening is that people who are resonating higher kind of sidestep it a little bit.
Yeah.
So they kind of get pulled into it a little bit, but somehow they manage to kind of like pivot their way around it. It's kind of fascinating to me how that kind of works out. And so I think that's happening, which is really remarkable. I feel like there's more groundswell of like little miracles that are happening for people.
Yeah.
Like it's like you're like, wow, that just happened to that person. That's amazing. That just happened.
Yeah, it used to be stuff you read in a book.
Yeah.
And it was some person so remote from me, you had no relation to them. Now I'm noticing it's like people I know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow, that happened to you?
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
I would have read that maybe 30 years ago and thought that was some miracle that only happened to special people.
Yeah.
Now I'm hearing that these everyday things now, they're happening for people.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed is with the people that I've been meeting anyways, here and where we are, they seem to be clearer. And what I mean by clearer is they're owning their stuff.
Yeah.
And they're clearing it and they're working with it. And they're not trying to pretend. It's like, wow, I haven't met this many people like this on this same wavelength ever, really.
Yeah. It's kind of amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's kind of this awesome time. So I agree with you. I think it's this amazing time where things are expanding. What we can do for ourselves and to help consciousness rise is expanding. It means because we are getting clearer.
Yeah.
Meaning our ripple effect is bigger. And when we come together in masterminds, whether it's doing frequency work or other things, because as you said, I mean, it's not like I'm not claiming that we're like the chosen one. That's so silly. It's like laughable. So whatever you're doing to raise your frequency resonance, fantastic. So my point is though, that we are having greater and greater impact on consciousness, and the work that we can do to help facilitate that is growing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm telling you that, even what we did in Peru last year was mind-boggling. Like anybody who was on that retreat will tell you that like it was hardcore because it was like really intense, but so much happened in that retreat that was magic. And what we're going to be doing in Scotland, same thing. Like in all the retreats, it's similar. In the sense of like what it is that we can do and what we contribute. But we wouldn't be able to do those things. It's not like I plan this out in advance and I like write a little script and that's what we're doing.
I know that you do it.
Yeah.
We know.
So we're kind of going with the flow. But my point is, even what is possible for me to do in a GFC wouldn't exist if consciousness weren't rising.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I'm sitting here just realizing myself that, we talked about when you start to tap into that new consciousness or have moments of being in it, and the information that you can either upload or bring back or hold within your field is so different, right?
Yes.
And I'm remembering the manifestation workshop that you just did just recently. And I mean, I thought I knew what manifestation was, and I was doing all right with it, But then I did your one, just the recent one. And I have these little jars that I've wanted, and they were supposed to be coming like a week and a half, and I'd be gone, and I don't know if they would get to the door on time and all that. So I was sitting.
And you were going to be away on vacation.
I was going to be away, and I thought, you know what? It'd be really good if they just came early, and they never come early.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm just going to manifest this. I'm gonna. Yeah. They bloody did. They came like a week and a half early. I was like, holy shit, this stuff's real. This really does work. I really kind of was like, And I was like, hello. Duh. But still, I was having my human moment, like, oh my God.
I know. But that's the human moment that's fun, when quantum manifestation happens, it's like a miracle, honestly. You're just
But that was new, right?
Yeah, totally new.
Because I remember when you first talked, you sort of rang me excited and, oh my God, guess what just happened? And I remember going,
Which can be your response sometimes. I'm like, oh, I was hoping for something a little, I don't know, more receptive.
Anyway. Healthy skeptic.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway,
yeah.
No, it's really cool. And also it's fascinating because if I can just share, because I think manifestation is so fun because it's like magic, right?
Yeah.
And we are stepping into what it is that we can create. And so it's like gleeful because it's like we're these little kids being like, look, I can create all this stuff. It's so fun. So we had somebody write in after the quantum manifestation workshop, and she was saying that so in the workshop, I say, okay, we're going to manifest something, and please pick something small that you're not particularly attached to, because if you're really super attached, it kind of hijacks quantum manifestation, right?
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, so in her little quantum manifestation meditation, she manifested a cup of coffee at her favorite coffee shop.
Yep.
And it's in a different city, like close by, but in a different city. So anyway, the next morning she was going to this coffee shop because she had a meeting. And so she goes to the coffee shop and she's like very friendly to everybody, like giving everyone an extra big smile. So she's, they'll be all warmed up for her free cup of Joe.
Free cup of coffee.
Right? And then she's there and she doesn't get one. And she's like, didn't work.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't work.
The default, right?
Right? It didn't work. But what it was is she was attached to time, the timing of it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so what happened was a week passed before she was back at this coffee shop. And of course, she's a very busy mom. She has a very busy work life, etc. So she kind of forgot about what it is that she created or what she manifested in her quantum manifestation. So there she is a week later in this coffee shop. And I think they were supposed to give her some private room or something like this because they were going to have a meeting, but they didn't have the room. So they ended up putting her in kind of this remote booth that was hard to see. And anyway, so you kind of have to like really be looking for her because they were trying to give her privacy, her and her teammate, I think, was there. Anyway, so somehow they're in the middle of this conversation or whatever, and some guy from the coffee shop was like, hey guys, I just wanted to stop by and thank you for being such great clients. And I have this entire tote bag full of free goodies for you, right? It contained like a coffee cup, a UPC chart, like it was like a whole, like she actually was really hilarious. She like put it all on the table and took a picture of it. And like, this is what I got for free. So it wasn't just the cup of coffee. She got all of this extra stuff. So it's kind of funny when the quantum manifestation happens, it's you get more than what it is that you manifested. You just in a way that you didn't necessarily envision.
You didn't see it coming.
Exactly. So it was really kind of cool. So I love stories like this because it happens all the time. But in any case, so
yeah, that for me was evidence that again coming back to is the new consciousness
real? Yeah.
So when you talked about this, when you first talked about this, I was like, okay, but to see it like, okay, this is new. This method is new because it is.
Yes.
And to actually see that, wow, this actually works. And I'm guessing as well it works because, like you say, it comes back to your resonance.
Yes.
And how you keep clearing and
because it is quantum manifestation. You have to be resonating at the level of the quantum for it to kind of really super work.
Yeah.
And you have to clear what I call the 3 roadblocks to quantum manifestation, which is all in the workshop. I went through that one really fast. I was like, oh my God, I started writing it. I prepare a long time for these workshops, right? So it was like a week before. I was like, oh my God, I have so much I have to get through in this workshop. But anyway, it turned out to be really great. But it's really wonderful because I have been waiting for a manifestation method that was of a higher level consciousness for a long time.
It is totally different.
It's totally different.
Totally different.
And it's a different understanding of time. It's a different understanding of how we co-create our reality. That's really important. And that's why it's new. And I love it.
I think that was key as well, what you said there about time. I'm also wondering about this new consciousness as well. I know it's time, it like, again, coming back to the crunchiness that everybody's in. And then time does this funky thing at the same time. Right?
Yeah, it's like expanding and then contracting super hard and then like
super
dropping.
hard and then
yeah, exactly.
And you're like, wait, what? Only yesterday time was like so hard to catch, and now it's like, whoa, I've got like 3 days in one day.
Exactly. I know it is. It's really weird. It's disconcerting.
Do you have a feeling or sense that in the new consciousness that will be something that we can actually? I know there's probably some people can already do it. but it will actually be something that we can actually not manipulate, but find a groove that works for us, and it can be different every time.
Yeah, I think so, because I'm starting to witness it in some of our clients, and it has to do with being able to, and it actually takes a very high degree of resonance to be able to do this, where you actually can hold linear time, which, by the way, is changing its resonance. That's why time feels like it's like dropping out and then compressing, and then like we're shifting, right? So we're trying to adapt to this new resonance of time. But when you resonate high enough, you can actually hold linear time at a new higher resonance, and also the eternal now, which is everything happening all at once.
Right.
But you have to be really strong to be able to do that. Because if you just think about that for a second, right? I mean, there's like, I mean, think about it. I mean, I'm like, we can get very overwhelmed with even like what you have to do to prepare the kids for school, the dinner, the work, the email, the whatever, and the whatnot. So if you can imagine being in that sort of linear time and then being aware of, to some degree, of everything happening all at once, that's a lot. And not everyone can do it, but it's kind of like there's this marriage of that eternal now, which really is expansive, limitless. It's eternal and linear time. And can you hold these two things at the same time? And my belief is you can. And that is when we start to come into a higher form of quantum manifestation, because quantum just, it starts at a certain threshold and just is infinitely up. Okay. So I just want to preface that for everybody who's listening. So my point is, so then you can start to change things in real time, which is really fun. Because you can change things up to the moment that they're actually happening, and we become more adept at that. And then there's this tension between, do you want to co-create what's happening and control issues? Right. And just playing with it to see if it's going to happen. And if it's not, it's fine, because you're not attached to it. Do you see what I'm saying? There's that very fine line, which is not easy for some people to walk. So that all happens. So the new consciousness, part of getting into that resonance, time is just weird, because the resonance of time is changing. And what it is that we can hold in terms of our field and not fragment apart is different.
Totally. For me, again, I'm just trying to bring in evidence of this existence of a new consciousness. And for me, that is so clear that there's something happening.
Yes.
Because for long enough, there was time, and you had your days where, has it been a month? But it's just like constant. It can be weekly now. What is happening? And it's not just me. Like I used to think it was an age thing. I hear my kids, they're 17 and saying, what happened to the week? So it's not just me.
Totally.
And I'm aware
we're blathering on.
Blah, 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 blah.
Okay, so anyhow, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking questions, but before we do, I'm going to mention the free giveaway, because of course that is something that we like to do because it's fun. And we're giving away the deep dive on, what are we doing? The neutrality deep dive.
Yes.
Okay, so this is so terrible, I can't remember. It's the deep dive on deepening neutrality. Okay, just because I think it's helpful at this time. I don't remember the entire name for it, but if you want the deep dive on neutrality, which is a very handy thing at this time, then just type in #free deep dive, just #free deep dive, and then the little fancy dancy thingy-majogger will it'll select a winner. So anyway, now, with that said, now that you have time to put in your free deep dive, #free deep dive thing, if you have questions, now would be the time to ask questions. If you have any for us. I know now everyone's distracted with the free deep dive.
Of course, I would be too. Give them a minute. They need to give their typing fast, and then it's going to be like, wait, but I have a question as well.
So it has to have no spaces. Just #free deep dive, no spaces, no name, just free deep dive. Okay. That's the way to get it. All right. Now, I don't know if anybody
and
has
then
any
maybe
questions.
Karen will sing a song. You could sing a lovely little song while they're typing in the
I like how you're volunteering me. God. Anyway, all right. So I don't see any questions so far.
Yeah, we haven't told them how to do it yet.
Oh,
we were giving them a chance.
Right. If you have a question, what do you do? What am I telling them to do? Just type the word question in caps, and then
there's one.
Yeah, there's one. There's one from Genevieve.
What a lovely name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always liked that name.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So her question is, can you explain why time is changing, why the ley lines, energy lines are changing? Is it related to the new consciousness? Yes, it is, because it has to do with vibrational rate. So the earth holds all the level of consciousness, right? She's the one who gives us form. She holds all the levels of consciousness. Okay. But in order for us to physically be able to shift up in our resonance, to be in that higher level of consciousness, there needs to be a shift also in the things that anchor us into the physical, which include the ley lines of the earth, because of course, obviously, we're of the earth, so that affects us and our energetic. And also time, which is the underpinning of the 0 point, space and time. That has to change pretty fundamentally, actually, in order for us to be able to access the new consciousness. And there is an entire episode on what is the new frequency resonance of time. And I think I can't remember the episode number, Genevieve, but it's there. It's like, if you just go into the search functionality on Spherical Luminosity, there's a little like magnifying glass. You just type into it time, you'll get both of those podcast episodes. So there's episode 80, what is time? And there's a second one called what is the new frequency resonance of time? And that will explain to you in more detail about the new resonance of time.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah.
Just as you were talking there, I wonder if the structure of water will change as well, because it seems to be in the collective right now on how we can actually move into relationship and connect with the structure of water and somehow have this water be a more benefit to us. I'm really curious.
And that's part of what we're going to be doing in Scotland. So the answer is yes. I don't know how yet, but I know water is really key. And there is something about time in the feminine that we started in the Limitless Potential Mastermind about expanding time that is going to shift as well. So I don't know. I mean, I know I'm not trying to be cryptic. I actually do not know yet myself, because we have actually not gone on the retreat yet. So I don't know, but it's coming in. Okay. And so we're going to start to,
Sorry, Genevieve.
Yeah. She hijacked your question. Genevieve, sorry about that. All right. Okay. Okay. So, Chris, I don't know if you're are you reading them? Okay, sorry, we need a little bit of time to read them. Sorry, Chris is having trouble navigating. Just a moment. Okay, so this is a question that I see a lot. Do you see some people not moving into the new consciousness? What happens to them, or are we all ascending? Some people are not going to move into the new consciousness. I know it freaks some people out, but it's a free will thing, and you have to choose. So I don't know if you've noticed this, but there are quite a number of people who are staunchly very asleep and would prefer to stay that way.
Yeah.
You can't force somebody. You can't force somebody to move, even if you love them.
Yeah,
that's the most frustrating. When you really love them and you're like, hello, right, and then they're not moving. So it really is a free will thing as a being. And will they ascend? Yes, but maybe not in this lifetime, maybe not in this incarnation, maybe not, maybe who knows what they're going to be doing. But all beings have the opportunity to ascend. It's just about whether or not this is the time in which they will do it.
Yeah.
Right. So absolutely, yes, there will be people who do not ascend at this time. Yeah. There's a lot of questions. So Chris is trying to pick the ones that are most reflective of what everyone else is asking. Marika's question is, can being in the higher level feel similar to being in flow? Yes, actually. So in order to be at the higher level of resonance of the new consciousness, and this is hard for us to do as humans, it's to be in that state of surrender from strength and to be in that state of neutrality where you are in flow. Yeah. Because in order to be in flow, you have to not be as attached to outcome, or attached to really very much at all. And so as a result, you are in that flow state because you're not in resistance. You know,
Yeah.
it's when you want what you want and you're stuck in that and needing something to happen and for you to be happy or for things to be a certain way or to feel comfortable or safe or whatever it is. When you have that, that's called resistance to what is. And yes, to some degree, it's desire and it can be the seed of manifestation, and it's still resistance to some degree. So in order to get to this higher level of flow state, you have to be in that deeper level of surrender from strength and also neutrality, and which is part of the reason why the deep dive is being offered. And as you get into further and further levels of it, as you release more of your distortion, you can enter that flow state, which then enables you to be in a higher resonance, which allows you to be in that new consciousness. And when you get into that new consciousness, I just want to put it out there. It's not about perfection. It's not like you're going to have like a frictionless experience and it's all like easy and glowy and bright. I just want to clarify that you're going to have challenge. It's not going to be like you don't have challenge. It's just that you have a greater awareness of your own ability to navigate that challenge. You are more in surrender. You recognize that challenge is there for you to grow from. So your perspective of the challenge is different. I'm not saying it's not going to be hard, because it will be sometimes. It's just your ability to navigate it is different.
Yeah. I just hear a long time ago, my granddad would say, be careful what you wish for. You know, and it was never meant as negative as it sounded. It's like we're all rushing towards this new consciousness, and I think because I'm speaking generally, a lot of people think everything will be different.
Yeah,
you know,
and it'll be perfect.
Yes, it'll be different, but it'll have different challenges.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because you signed up to grow as a being, so that might be disappointing for some, but yeah. All right, do we have time for one more question? Chris is going to put 2 questions up that are similar. Okay, so I'm going to read Avery's, and I'm reading Avery's just on the side. Sorry, I'm not following directions very well. Okay, so Avery asks, can you explain what happens when you sleep? Just had the worst nightmares of my life last night. And then Susie writes, I've experienced a shift in my consciousness in my dreams more than awake state. With this shift over, how do you become more aware of the shift? Yeah. So for some of you, you are more active in your dream space. And as you are active in your dream space, some people, I think yourself included, receive a lot of information in your dreams. Some of you, some of you process your distortions out through your dreams. And for a lot of people, it's interesting. A lot of people who have experienced abuse or like possession or that type of thing, like things that are very intrusive. A lot of times when you start to clear your distortion patterns, the dreams are nightmares.
Yeah.
And they're terrifying. So what I will say, Avery, is that as you clear your distortion and as you gain your own strength and your own confidence because you're rising in your resonance, that will shift. And you're nodding because I believe that's happened for you.
Oh, yeah. And the one tool that I learned in my sleep, once I used it, somehow I became so much stronger and the dreams never came back, was in that moment of terror, I managed somehow to say, I connect to pure source even stronger. I choose only pure source. And it was like waving the magic wand. Yeah. Suddenly something happened and the whole thing just went like this. I was like, oh, that was all I needed to do. Yeah. But it was because I believed it as well. Yeah. It's like I had to get to a level of understanding that relationship that I have with connection to pure source, and then being able to remember in the dream state to say, I connect with pure source only, no other. Yeah. Exactly. Which is a reflection of the question that we always ask, It's like, how do I become even more aware of my connection only to pure source? So it's like a version of that. Yeah. And I think the thing about it is that, in the dream space, it's to recognize you have authority in that space, and not just in your waking space. And those of you who have been in the Limitless Potential Mastermind or Living Your Brilliance, you've heard me talk about this before, where that is an area where you have to claim your authority as well. So for some of you, it's in your awake state,
only. And for some of you, it's your awake state and your dream state. And some of you, it's just in your dream space. So it kind of depends on who you are. But to be aware of it to the level that you're aware of that in your dream space is really important, because again, it's claiming your authority over that space.
Yep.
And to understand that you are fundamentally connected to pure source. And that is why, I don't know if you've ever heard me say this, but like there are always 3 tips that I give, right? When you're encountering anything, I don't care what it's going on. It's like, become aware of your body, become aware of your connection to pure source. I mean, if you can even just do those 2 things, it doesn't matter kind of what's going on.
Yeah.
That helps you to establish your authority in your space.
Yep.
So whether it's in your dream space or your awake space, those 2 tips are really important. Oh, and then the third one, if you're awake and you can do it, is to become aware of your spirit body. So you don't need to do that in dream space. I mean, the other two are just fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even just the awareness of your source, if you're asleep, is enough. But if you're awake, aware of your body, aware of your connection to pure source, aware of your spirit body, that would be amazing. Okay. Right? Okay. So, and then I think Susie asked, did I answer Susie's question? Okay. Okay. So, all right. I think we're going to do the giveaway now. All right. That's what Chris is giving me the nod. It's a silent nod. I'm interpreting the nod as, please do the giveaway now. So, okay, he's going to do the free giveaway now.
With that magic app.
Which magic app? Maybe I should sing. I don't know. I don't think I want to challenge anyone's eardrums. All right, here we go. Here we go.
So, oh yeah.
Here we go. I kind of like this. I think it's really fun.
I try to see all the names. They go so fast. I'm like, that's so sneaky. Pamela. Kim
Castle, you're the winner.
Lucky ducky.
Yep. All right, Kim. So all you have to do is write into info@sphericalluminosity.com and tell them that you have won. You are the lucky winner of the deep dive giveaway from the YouTube Live, and they will get it right to you. All righty. Well, this was a huge topic. Thank you, Fiona, for your healthy skepticism. And thank you all of you for your questions. I'm sorry I couldn't answer all of them, but you had some great ones. Hopefully the answers were helpful to you all. And now I'm going to get into the deep dive. And for the deep dive, I'm sorry,
GFC.
The GFC, I'm already partially in it, so I'm not thinking. So for the GFC, Chris is going to change out my mic. Yeah. And so you can hear me better. And we'll get going.
I'm going to put them on mute for a second. Just tell me.
Okay. All right. Chris has me now mic'd up so you guys can hear me for the GFC. Now, before I get into the GFC, I'm supposed to mention this because I forgot that I'm waiting for Chris to help me. I was supposed to tell you this. So if you are new and you want to receive emails in your inbox about the new podcast releases, which always includes a free group frequency calibration meditation or GFC, or when I go live for these YouTube lives, then please be sure to subscribe to become a spherical luminosity luminary. Only spherical luminosity luminaries are invited to our special community events like the recent loneliness cure workshop that I gave for free, or the first session of Living Your Brilliance that we offer for free once in a while. So if you want to receive any or all of that, plus the free centering GFC you receive for signing up, you can subscribe at the very bottom of our homepage at sphericalluminosity.com. All right. Chris is frantically trying to get my attention and I was blithely unaware. So anyway, with that said, we're going to jump into the GFC. And just scanning the group for where we're going to go with this. So, settling in. Let's rise together. Yeah. Becoming aware of your bodies, please. And as you become aware of your body, becoming aware of your body as a whole. Noticing it from skin all the way in, or all the way in, out, perhaps bottom to top or top to bottom, front to back, back to front, however you become aware of the entirety and the wholeness of your body. Good. Becoming aware of the texture of whatever is supporting you. Noticing the heat of your own body. Perhaps noticing it radiate off of whatever is supporting you. Good. Yeah. And now bringing your attention to your heart space, your lower belly, and the front of your throat. Asking ourselves the question, how can I become even more aware of my connection only to pure source? Because truly, that's really the only thing that matters. And as you ask yourself that question, whether you're aware of it or not, your higher self responds by quickening your own frequency resonance. Yeah. And as your own frequency resonance rises, I'm going to catch you at the top of where you can rise to and pull your frequency resonance even higher, irrespective of where it began. Imagining, sensing, feeling your brilliance from deep within starting to expand outwards in all directions. As I pull your frequency resonance even higher still. becoming lightly aware now of the brilliance of the field of the one. There we go. Good. Right. So bringing your attention, please, right into the heart space and right into the spaces between the vertebrae and the neck. Okay, so there are a lot of stories out there about the new consciousness. Okay, and they're all stories, which is, great. But to distinguish between resonance and story is an important thing to do. If that sounds hard, it's okay. You just know whether it feels true to you or not. Okay, that's another way of expressing what I just said. Okay, so first we're going to clear out this distortion of this storytelling. And there's definitely a subgroup here where the storytelling is predatory. Okay, so what you're picking up on is a lot of more like sort of conspiracy theory type stuff. Okay, so be aware that if somebody uses fear to motivate you to do something, it is not of a higher frequency resonance. It isn't. If they need to control you through fear, it is a lower resonating order. If what they are sharing is something of a higher resonance, they share with you the consequences, you make your own choices, and they share with you how you get to move up and how to do that. That's awesome. Okay, higher resonating order. So let's release the stories because there's so many of them right now and it can be a little overwhelming and we can lose clarity. Yeah. So let's release this. No one else's story really matters in a way. Okay. Because it's your experience. It's your resonance. And you are unique. Yes, you will have things that overlap with other people and your path is yours. It doesn't make it less valuable or less important just because it may not be the same. Here we go. Good. Imagining, please, really clear crystalline light that expands through the heart space. Good. Right. So, still in the heart space, we're going to release this fear. So, this fear has to do with the fear that you're not going to make it into the new consciousness. You don't even really know what the hell that means. So, you're like, well, if I don't even know what that means, how am I going to know that I can get there? Right? And it really has to do with how you feel to a large degree. Okay. So, let's release this fear. Okay. That, oh my God, I'm not going to make it. And the lack of trust in self. Okay, because the fear, again, is a very low resonance. It'll just keep your resonance lower and keep you from moving into the resonance that is a higher resonating order. Okay, it's not like you're meant to be fearless, right? Just to make that really clear. But releasing as much of it as possible, it really helps. Here you go. Yeah. Imagining, sensing, feeling a really deep, brilliant blue expanding through the space. Good. If you are starting to feel really hot, okay, or if your breathing changes, or if you have a slight headache, or like tension starts to happen through your body, just know that these patterns are quite intense and they're leaving you. So your body is symptomizing as you release. Okay. So if that is happening, just keep breathing, stay present, be aware of your body, your connection of your source, and be in the frequency resonance. There we go. Good. Better. Bringing your attention now, please, from your heart space deep into the xiphoid process. Okay, so you're connecting these two spaces, just to be really clear, right? And then not connected, the base of your groin, right? So heart space down to deep into the xiphoid process. And then separately, base of your groin. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, here we go. Okay. So what's happening is that as we are in this space where we're moving up in resonance, there can be a lot of scatter that happens in our field because, you know, we mentioned this already in the conversation. There's a lot coming up. And when a lot comes up, we can get really distracted and scattered and impatient and unfocused and space cadet-y and like all kinds of stuff. Right? So hang on. So we're anchoring you more firmly into these earth frequencies, or differently, having these earth frequencies run more clearly through you. So if you can imagine yourself standing in a place where there's water that you love. Okay, so it doesn't matter if it's the beach or a stream or a river or a lake or waterfalls or a hot spring. It doesn't matter. Somewhere that you love that has water. Yeah. And imagining standing or sitting or lying in the water. And we're going to use the property of water to amplify these earth frequencies through the waters of your body. So as you're imagining yourself in the water, in this place on the earth that you love, as the water runs over whatever part of the skin it's touching, imagining it carrying these earth frequencies. And the waters of your body responding by taking in these earth frequencies and then amplifying through all the waters of your body. There we go. Good. Mhm. Becoming aware, please, of your spine between your heart space on the back body, all the way up your spine into your brain. Mhm. Now, some of you are feeling tingling in your spine. That's awesome. If you're not, also awesome. So, your nervous system is more or less used to the higher level frequencies of this new consciousness level. Okay, it depends really how much you've been doing to raise your resonance. Okay, whatever the modality is. Okay, but because your nervous system doesn't perceive it as known, it can perceive it as unsafe. I know that seems odd potentially, because intellectually you may think to yourself, well, gee, it'd be really great if I could resonate at that level. But your body is something different, and your nervous system does not see this resonance or perceive it as known. And because it is not known to some of you, it is therefore unsafe. Now, some of you are much more familiar with this resonance, so your nervous system is more adapted to it. Okay, it's like, oh, yeah, I know what this is. This feels great. Right? So whether you're somebody who has less exposure to it and your nervous system is in resistance, or whether you're someone who's like, yeah, I've done this, I know what this is, and your body's more used to it. For those of you who are more used to it, expanding your nervous system, okay, so it moves up in its resonance and can pace with even higher degrees of resonance, right? It's always about the body pacing with higher resonance. The body's the densest part of you. Okay, and then for those of you who resistance is more present, helping you to release that. Okay, so your bodies can move more in sync with your intention to rise. Good. Yeah. Bringing your attention, please, from the front of the heart all the way up to underneath the chin. Okay. And then right at the base of your groin. All right. So we have two very different patterns running in these spaces. Okay. So the first one is low self worth, non deserving. Okay. Of being in this new resonance and being able to hold more of it in your field for longer periods of your time. Of time, I meant. Okay. The other one has to do with fear of those you love who are not moving with you. Right. So here's the thing that is challenging for us as humans is when we love someone, we want what's best for them often, and we want them to move up in their resonance because clearly we believe that it would be good for them. Right. So the thing is, someone else's awakening, the timing of that's theirs alone. Okay. It has nothing to do with you. Doesn't matter how much you love them, how much you want it for them. Doesn't matter. Their time of quickening is very much their choice. So, of course, you can present opportunity, ideas, tools, etc. And ultimately, their timing is theirs. So, on the one hand, releasing this pattern of low self worth, non deserving. And then right behind it, this fear of losing those we love. Softening, please, into the heart space. Good. Mhm. And now bringing your attention, please, to the lower back, from the waist all the way down to your tailbone, along your spine, and right at the base of the groin. Okay, so this has to do with the distortion pattern of frustration and the focus on the negative or the things that we don't like. And we all do this, right? I mean, I think we all have moments where this happens, however that shows up for you. And we forget when we're consumed with our focus on the negative of how much we have to appreciate, to be thankful for the beauty around us, how much we have changed, how much life has changed, how lucky we are. We can forget. So, releasing this is an ego mind pattern, the pattern of the less self, which holds us in this lower resonance. Good. Now bringing your attention, please, right into the center of that solar plexus. So, what I'm doing here is pulling you all further into the 0 point of space and time. Good. And now, in addition to the 0 point,
right in the center of the solar plexus, being lightly aware of the center of the heart. Yep, bringing us into further coherence. And if you could add to this now, about an inch within your body above your perineum. So your perineum is right at the base of your body, between your anus and your genitals. Okay, right in that center point. So about an inch above into the body, okay, above that perineum. Center of the heart. Pineal gland. Creating more coherence and alignment between your physical body and your spirit body. Good. Mm-hmm. And bringing your attention right into the center of the heart space. So when we're in these periods of change, okay, some of you know how to activate the quantum lens of the heart, which is great, which keeps you in alignment or in harmony with chaos, or the chaos aligns to you, basically. And for the others of you, you're not sure what that is. So for those of you who are not sure what that is, helping you to hold your space better so you're not as influenced by others' triggers or stresses. For those who know what the quantum lens of the heart is, keeping your attention there. Being aware of that flow from the back of the heart space through the front of the heart space. There we go. Good. Very nice. Okay, bringing your attention now to that xiphoid process right beneath the sternum and about 3 inches or 7 centimeters directly beneath it towards the belly button, clearing out the pain body. Good. And the reason we're doing this is because your pain body, as many of you know, have a memory of you before the frequency work was done. So by clearing out your pain body and resetting it, which only takes a couple of seconds, it helps you to integrate more smoothly. You still have to integrate, but it is more smooth because your pain body is not tripping you up along the way. Excellent. Everyone take a deep breath in, please. Holding it for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhaling with sound. Holding your breath out for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathing normally whenever feels good to you. Excellent. And then Whenever you're ready, I would stay here for a couple of seconds actually. But whenever you're ready, blinking your eyes open and looking. So, if you found this YouTube Live valuable, if you could please help us out by hitting the like button and leaving a comment after the YouTube Live ends, that helps us get our content out to more people who need it. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you again, however our paths cross next. All right, until next time.